far down. So we've been just picking up officials, voting officials in, elected officials that haven't been successful to really do anything positive, really, to be able to help in protecting the people and helping inspire people to better their lives. And so Mindy Pechenuk is running for mayor. Her grandmother said, "Leave this world better than you left it." And so that's her heart. She's 74. And but she has a heart of a 39-year-old, 29-year-old, 16-year-old. She's in music. She has a musical background. She's very educated, but she brings this harmony. She brings this sense of seeing the good, right? Bringing something beautiful, and we need that right now. We want to bring something beautiful to Oakland. Hey, it hasn't worked for a multitude of other leaders, right? So let's give a chance. Please now receive Mindy Pechenuk.
Thank you, Mike, for inviting me, and everyone here. It's great to be here. And yes, I turned 74 yesterday, and and the day before that was my 43rd wedding anniversary, and that's my husband back there. Yeah, and as Mike just said, one of the things that got me into politics over 50 years ago was what my grandmother, who came over from a little town outside of Kiev in 1913. And I grew up living with my grandparents. And to talk about what Dr. Kaufman was talking about, generations and families, that's how I grew up. And I remember when I was about 8 years old, she turned to me and she said, "Well, everything I do so that you have a better life. But then, Mindy, you have to live your life so generations after you have it better when you're no longer around." And that, I probably at 8 years old didn't quite understand everything she was saying to me, but it stuck with me my whole life. And I had to decide at a certain point. I could have been a classical musician. I'm a trained bassoonist, and a music historian. But I decided humanity needed me to do what I'm doing now, to be actually tending to making a better nation and a better world. So I decided, talking with Gerald, my husband, to run for mayor of Oakland. Now, I ran in the special election that took place in April, just a little background. And there were 9 active candidates. There was one candidate who dropped out, but there were 9 of us that were active. The 2 that got all the attention were former Congresswoman Barbara Lee, who fits the description of what Dr. Kaufman just talked about, because Oakland is completely run by this progressive leftist Soros crowd. And then the other candidate that got all the attention was former Councilman Lauren Taylor. And they had about $1.5 million between them to spend. The rest of us didn't have that. And I was known as the Trumper, because I did campaign for President Trump and made it clear to everybody that I supported President Trump to become president of the United States. I walk around Oakland with my Trump gear on all the time. And what happened was I came in 3rd out of the 9 candidates. And, that said to me there was something going on, that people were looking for something different. They were looking for answers. And they were looking for a leadership that did believe in God. And I do like what Dr. Kaufman said earlier, that if you believed in God, you're my friend. That unites us all. And in running for mayor of Oakland, it's a very interesting challenge, because Republicans are not the greatest percentage, I think, as everybody knows. The majority are Democrats and NPPs, independents. And so my job is to unite them all around the idea that we're one family under God, and that we were created in a very special way by God. He gave us something he didn't give to our lovely dogs. I have a great little dog. He's 14 years old. But God gave us creativity. He gave us the love that, Dr. Kaufman just talked about. And he gave us the capacity to be creative with that love. In fact, the greatest creativity is bound by that love. And that is what's been under attack. from both the Marxists, from British intelligence, which has played a very big role in shaping things like the Frankfurt School. And, and our founding fathers understood something very precise. They understood that this nation was to be the city on the hill for other countries to be able to develop. And that's what's been also under attack. And one of the things in running for mayor of Oakland, I just want to say a few things about that, which is that I've taken on something that, 3 ways I look at the city of Oakland. It could easily be solved. We could stop all the crime. We could stop the drugs. We could stop the homelessness. We could rebuild that city with industry, manufacturing, get the small businesses open, but you have to have a leadership that's committed to that. The problem is we don't have a leadership, and we haven't. This is a city, Oakland has been taken down since the 1960s, with each leadership worse than the one before it. And it's completely gripped from the city council to the mayor to all other levels. School board, our school board in Oakland is now $100 million in debt. The education to what both Leslie and Linda were talking about, Lisa, I'm sorry, were talking about earlier, hit the mark. These kids, if we don't fight for these kids, what future do we have? We don't have any. The fact to me, what's so horrendous is that these children can't read. I know many teachers in the Oakland system, and you have kids in high school that can't put together a whole sentence, can't comprehend a sentence. What future do we have if we don't change that? We have to get rid of, all the corruption and transgenderism, and at the same time, we have to approach the question of educating our children again. And I believe that we can create the California miracle. The reason I call it that is because I'm modeling it on the Mississippi miracle. And if people don't know the Mississippi miracle, is they decided as a state, as a city, as a community, to actually stop the destruction of their children. They were at the bottom of the barrel in education and reading. And then they decided no child is going to get out of 3rd grade unless you can read at a 3rd grade level. And they held kids back. That's love. When you hold a kid back and you tell them, I'm not going to let you destroy yourself. You're going to learn to read. And they did that plus curriculum. And what happened is they shot up to the high 20s, up to the top, some of the top ranks in the schools. And this is what we need to do in California. So I call it, it's time for the California miracle. Now, I know the mayor in Oakland is not in charge of the schools. It's not, quote, the job description. But I don't like job descriptions. So, I'm going to form a relationship to the school boards and the parents and the communities. We're going to start building Oakland schools again. And we're going to also shut down the drug cartels. This is something that I personally and my husband Gerald have been fighting for 50 years. And thank God for President Trump. Thank God he's being tough, the right kind of love on the drug cartels, by what he's doing in Venezuela, by what he's doing in other countries. He's actually stopping the cartels. And if you don't go after the cartels, you're never going to stop drugs. It's the biggest industry in the world right now. The offshore markets in the Caribbean, where you have the human trafficking and the drug cartels. That's the biggest industry in the world. And it's got to be shut down. And I will work with President Trump to do that as mayor of Oakland. And we will go into the city, and people don't realize, but in Oakland, you have living the Sinaloa cartel, and the other cartels live in Oakland. There's Safe House in Oakland. And it's time we shut that down. And our police can't do it alone. I'm a big supporter of the police. I've done 7 rides with the East Oakland Police to learn firsthand what it is that they're facing and what they need. And because of the ideology that Dr. Kaufman talked about earlier, these police are defunded. We have just maybe 500 or so active policemen in the whole city. They don't have the equipment. the city ordinances need to be changed because they can't do their job because of the city ordinances. They can't do their job because of the police commission and these commissions of which, and I know stories, and I won't go through them all for the lack of time, but, criminals can report the police to be investigated for being mean to them. And that's true. And then they spend all this money and time on investigating a cop who tried to do his job. And so, as mayor of Oakland, this is how I'm going at it and going at it now. The election's not till next November 2026. Unfortunately, we have ranked choice voting, but so be it right now till we can change that. But I started my campaign early, not just to win an election. I'd love to win because I know what I could do and bring in the forces and bring in the economic development and clean up East Oakland and stop the corruption of the nonprofits and bring in an outside audit to go through all our finances for the first time so that we, Oakland's not real, it's bankrupt, but it's only bankrupt because of, the corruption in the city. So, but I'm started early because I want to solve these problems now. I want to bring a change now. And I can envision doing this. I think one last word I'll say, just for the sake of time, is that because what President Trump is doing, he's now provided us a basis which we can solve all these problems. And it's important that we approach it not from the bottom up. We're actually at the top of the mountain. And if we go from the top of the mountain of what he's providing, and I get, and his new national strategy, he's breaking the back of these globalists. He's breaking the back of the drug cartels. He's giving us the room to do what we need to do. And that's where I'd like to pick up on what both Lisa and Leslie said and challenge everyone here, the online and in the room, to get active like you've never done before. It's worth putting your life on the line. Amen. That's why God put us here. He didn't put us here to just preserve ourselves. He put us here to do the work that we need to do. And so I ask everyone, if you're able to run for office, join me. Run for office, whether it's school board, whether it's a city council, whether it's water commission, whether it's whatever it is available. Run. Because if we run, we have the platform. If we run, we can speak. And I encourage everybody to do it. And if you can't run, work with one of the candidates that's running. Get behind them. Help them take the domination of the narrative. And I'll say one last thing just to close, that I can tell you Oakland is ready for it. The interesting thing, the challenge that I have, but I'm inspired by what happened in the special election, is there are a lot of Democrats and independents. They're fed up with the progressives. I hate to call them progressives because they're really deep progressives. We should change their name. But who want what God wants? They want the good. They want to see their children grow up and have a future. They want to see a next generation develop a new discovery, get us to Mars. Whatever direction it's going to take. And so I have to win their hearts and minds over to my side. A lot of them agree with me, but they say, oh, you can't win because you're a Republican. You can't win. Well, I'm out to disprove that. Not because I'm a Republican. I really don't care what the party is. If you believe in God and you want the good, then work with me and let's together unite our forces so that we can make Oakland an example that you can take the worst city one of the worst cities in the country and actually make it one of the best cities in the country. So that's my vision and that's what I'm out to do. And I ask you to join me. Thank you.